Hey everybody, this is Wesley Chun, an engineer here at Google. Today I'm going to introduce you to one of our best kept secrets, Google Apps Script. You're kidding, right? Another Google secret? Alright, so it's not our best kept secret, nor is it really a secret at all, but if you haven't heard of it yet, you'll be wondering why you haven't by the time we're done. So, first things first, what is Google Apps Script? Well, it's a tool based on JavaScript, but it's a little less like using APIs and more like using services or built-in access to APIs. And finally, there's less OAuth 2 authorization code for you to write. All right, to help with this understanding, let's start with what AppScript is not. All right, the good news here is that there's really nothing new to learn. It's just JavaScript. Even a Python guy like me knows some JavaScript. But it's not your daddy's JavaScript. Aside from one exception, which is out of the scope of this episode, AppScript code is not client-side and does not run in the browser, meaning there's no DOM manipulation like you see behind me. The only thing you do in the browser is edit your AppScript code. Now, if you're familiar with Node.js, it's like Node being server-side and all, only you're not running asynchronous event-driven code executing on Node servers. Instead, your AppScript code runs on the same servers in the same data centers that run Google services like Search, YouTube, and Gmail, giving you access to resources that don't come with Node servers. All right, based on its name, you can probably guess that AppScript will give you access to Google Apps data and services, but it doesn't stop there. You can access other Google services beyond apps, such as Google Maps, YouTube, Google Analytics, BigQuery, and Google Translate. Here's a more complete list, and we're continuing to look at what to add next that benefits users. You may be asking what you can use AppScript for, and there are many use cases, but a good rule of thumb is to think a programmatic way to access data in Google Apps, possibly using other Google services. Oh, by the way, if you look down at the bottom, those in the Other Services section allow your app to communicate with outside world to go beyond Google services. Here are some sample applications. Apps like teacher tools that use data in Google Docs and Sheets. Mail merge apps are popular too. Form letters in Google Docs, merging with email addresses in Google Sheets, and sent by Gmail. Now, school districts and enterprises using Google Apps for their domain have many use cases, such as workflow and resource management, such as this calendaring app. Now, there are three types of AppScript apps: standalone scripts that run by themselves, as you can guess, add-ons and document-bound scripts, which are tied to a specific document, such as Docs or Sheets. Finally, AppScript can do simple websites as well as gadgets bound to Google Sites. Okay, that's enough talk. Let's do some coding. Your Hello World will be a Sheets-bound script that writes Hello World to the first cell in a Google Sheet. All right, let's follow me to the computer right now so we can do that. Alrighty, you guys all set to do your first AppScript app? Me too. Hoping to have you guys join me, so why don't you go to your Google Drive and create a brand new spreadsheet. And once you're done, come join me back here and we'll pick up from here. All right, let's go and write some AppScript code. So the way you do that is you go to your spreadsheet's Tools, a menu item. You scroll down and select Script Editor. And what that will do is it'll bring up a little dialog box that has a bunch of boilerplate code already written for you. But since we're only going to do a simple one-liner, we're just going to pick blank project. If you're going to do something a little bit more complicated, you may consider choosing one of these other skeleton bits of code that have pre-built functionality for you. But for now, let's just do blank project. And what this will do is it will pop you into the AppScript JavaScript editor that's in your web browser. And it's already started the first function for you. So all we're going to do is go to our spreadsheet and stick Hello World as a string into the first cell in our spreadsheet, which is located at A1. So column A, row number 1. So the way you do that is you connect to the spreadsheet app by typing spreadsheet app. And once you press dot, you have a selector where you can choose from specific methods that you can call. So what we're going to do is we're going to call the getActiveSheet method to get the current sheet that we're on. And from here, we're going to get the first cell, or the cell in the upper left-hand corner, and you use getRange for that. And we're going to use A1 notation, and we're going to specify the string that says we want cell A1. And there we go. And then once we have the cell, let's write the hello world string to it, and the method used for that is setValue. So there we go there, and now we can enter hello world. and save and run. Here's the run button here. It's a little triangle. Once you click it, it asks you to save it and name it. So let's do that here. We'll call it Hello World. And once it's saved, we can run it again. Now notice that none of this code had any OAuth in it, right? So one of the advantages you get from using AppScript is that you don't have to build all this in yourself like you would if you were using a traditional REST-based API. AppScript handles all of this for you, and you can see that here where it says, hey, you know what? This script needs authorization before it can get access to your data. So once you click on this, you'll get your very familiar OAuth 2 dialog that basically says you, as a user, need to give permission to access your Google Sheet. See, it says here, view and manage your spreadsheets in Google Drive. Obviously, we want that to happen because we're trying to automate things for ourselves. So we click accept. And once that's done, it's actually going to run your script, and you can see the little dialog box up here that says it's running, and once it's done, it disappears. And hopefully when you go to your spreadsheet, you'll see that we have Hello World in cell A1, just as we had planned. All right, now if for some reason you want to, your browser window is not that wide, or you want to make your code a little bit easier to read, you can do the JavaScript shortcut way of putting each method call on a separate line. It's perfectly fine. You can do that here. Let's just change our script a little bit because I want to run it again to show that it did work. All right, so let's click on run again. And once that's done, we'll go back to the spreadsheet and see, hey, we've got Hello World 2. So that's it. You've just done your first Hello World program using Google Apps Script. Congratulations! All right, now that you've got Hello World under your belt, I'm sure you're anxious to script some more. Here you'll find a link to the AppScript documentation, which includes tutorials as well as quick start projects that get you going. Also, stay tuned for more AppScript episodes coming soon. If you need help, go to Stack Overflow and search for Google AppScript with hyphens in between each word. All right, now, can you believe you haven't heard of Google AppScript before? Yeah, neither can I, but now the secret's really out of the bag, isn't it? All right, this is Wesley Chun from Google, and I look forward to seeing some awesome app scripts from you. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Launchpad Online.